Hello, hello, the Arc Minister here. Welcome back to the Great Primeval Show. We're going to take more of a casual undertaking today as we look at a recent interview published on the Radio Times regarding Primeval. So I've got three lovely lads here.
Three lovely lads. That's a lovely way of talking about us.
You're welcome. So this is Alfred from the Primeval Legacy.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
And we got Sikander from Time for Change Art.
Hi, nice to be here too.
And we got Edaphosaurus from YouTube and Twitter.
Hello, that's me, Edaphosaurus, and I'm also joined by...
Oh, hang on.
Oh.
Hang on.
They're communicating!
How many Rexes can we get in one podcast?
The question is that actually Rex or is it a raccoon?
I'm very glad I got that out of the lock now.
Right, we'll jump straight into this Radio Times article. In the start, it just briefly goes over some of the history of how Primeval was created. And it's got a few revelations in there. So, Primeval was developed soon after Walking with Dinosaurs back in 1999/2000. And it was thought up by Tim Haynes, who created that. And when he first worked on the BBC's Lost World, that's when he met up with Adrian Hodges, and together they developed a program called Cutter's Bestiary.
I'm quite glad Adrian got the name changed a bit there, because that's not a great
I don't
name.
know, I really like the name Cutter's Bestiary. It sounds like the sort of show I would make.
Exactly,
It's
I
like
was
the
going to
sort
say
of
you would.
haphazard name.
I guess you could kind of misspell that quite easily as something else.
Oh no.
That's
Oh,
probably
no.
why they changed. The main reason they changed the name was because they knew that anyone who hated the show would just call it that, and they were like,
Yeah.
we need to find a name
Cool.
that you basically can't corrupt Primeval into anything else, can you? You can just say, oh,
Not
this is
really.
Primeval, but that's not insulting,
Yeah.
is it?
This Prime is evil.
No, I think for me, actually, one of the most interesting things about the development was that it was actually started before Doctor Who was actually a thing. Like,
Yeah.
a
Well,
lot of the comparisons
I mean-
from people when they used to watch the show was like, it's ITV's Doctor Who, and that's what everyone used to say. When in reality, it actually started out long before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know how long Russell T Davies was trying to make Doctor Who as well, because he was also hanging around. I mean, he'd always aspired to bring back Doctor Who as soon as it was cancelled. So I don't know what quite the timeline is on the Doctor Who side, but yeah, it is weird to find out that it was that old.
I
And then
wonder if
it is the same time as Walking with Dinosaurs.
I wonder if it was going to be if it came out before Doctor Who came out. How it would be received as opposed to Doctor Who.
The first season would be really popular, and everyone would be like, "Wow, this is just like Doctor Who." And then the next year, Russell T Davies would release Doctor Who, and everyone would be like, "Right, okay, Doctor Who's back," and then Primeval would be forgotten about.
Yeah. I guess
I
it's
don't
better
know.
that they came out afterwards.
Maybe it might have been sort of defining Saturday night show. I don't know. It's hard to say. But again, I don't think Primeval would have existed because the BBC dropped it.
Yes,
if
the
Doctor Who hadn't been a thing.
BBC didn't want it because they were rebooting Doctor Who at the time, and then because Doctor Who was so popular, ITV then greenlit Primeval.
We want a piece of that. I want some of that Saturday night drama.
Yes.
Well, the other part of the timeline that we don't have yet, which I think will be interesting, is of course Prehistoric Park, which was kind of brought in 2006 as initially ITV's foray into competing with Doctor Who, because that was also a Saturday night show.
Yeah.
And then sort of as far as I understand, the timeline was they initially were like, yeah, we'll make another season. And then Primeval came out and they're like, yeah, we don't need to make another season of Prehistoric Park because Primeval's way cheaper and gets better viewing figures. That's as far as I can piece together the timeline from sort of old articles. But yeah, I don't know.
Prehistoric Park may have been another holdover because it's like, if you look at the sort of the skeleton of it, it's like so similar to like the Walking with Dinosaur specials with Nigel Marvin, you know.
Yeah.
In terms of the settings, the types of creatures we see, the locations, it's all really similar. So I don't know if it was basically something that they'd come up with that got canned, and ITV like, okay, we'll just take the things that the BBC didn't want to make, and we'll have a crack at it by using the sort of reject pile almost of the BBC.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
which was harsh to say.
Yeah,
it's like they're both really good. You know, damn it, there we go. They're both really good. So to call them rejects is a bit of I feel a little bit unkind, but that's what they were.
I guess Prehistoric Park was more like a kind of concept to see how it would work, and if it was popular enough to make another series.
I think they were definitely trying to play into that
as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think Primeval has that sort of pulpy element to it, though, where it's a little bit wink at the audience. Where Prehistoric Park was a little bit more honest, a little bit more genuine. I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I feel like ITV were just using what the BBC didn't want to make, which is strange to think that both of those might have started at the BBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
But then we've got the BBC to blame as much as it is the ITV.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would have looked like if the BBC had made it. That would have been incredible.
Probably high budget. Yeah. Would have been a bit like Lost World, I suppose. Although I guess conversely, you might end up in a situation where they reuse more of the old models from the other Walking With projects.
Yeah, well, that's why
Prehistoric Park, like they did in Lost World,
models. Yeah, that's why Prehistoric Park couldn't use the models because they weren't BBC. So
yeah,
I'm glad they did make new stuff because they do look better.
Oh yeah,
I think technologically and accurate wise.
Yeah.
Right. So in the article, it also mentions that they originally planned for Primeval to be 90 minutes long, whereas the actual episodes are only 45. So would we have got the same amount of episodes?
45-minute episodes.
Yeah. No, it would have been.
I figure.
Go on, Edaph.
I would figure that because if it was like a film, you know, how can you turn Primeval into one coherent storyline that fits in 90 minutes? And I think it would almost maybe be like a combination of episode 1 and episode 6, possibly.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
because then you've got the key bits of like.
Because you'd need Helen coming back.
You need Helen coming back.
Elements of episode 3.
Or would it be more like
she could do that
BBC's Sherlock?
Yeah.
Would it be like
That's what I
BBC's
was gonna
Sherlock
say.
with 3 episodes?
Maybe.
3 90-minute episodes. Yeah, I don't know. Let's have a look at
It does just say a 90-minute drama. So yeah, that would have been a bit tight to squeeze it.
I suppose you could. Yeah. I think it's a simple enough plot because you can still do things like, you know, where what's his face? Ryan sees like the skeleton, and then it's like, oh shit, that was me, wasn't it? I died. But I suppose the thing is that the great thing about having those episodes being 4 episodes apart means that, you know, it's like, oh, okay, the portal's reopened, but it's actually reopened at an earlier point in history, which I guess you can't do if it's all in one like night, essentially, which is generally what sort of a single. And I guess you also can't do as much of the sort of bouncing between time zones. You know, the whole point about Primeval is that it is episodic because it means you can go Permian, Carboniferous, Cretaceous, well, Holocene, Cretaceous again, or Jurassic.
And Cretaceous again.
It's a bit of a weird mix. And then Permian again, but also with some future elements as well, Yeah.
I think the once a week 45-minute slot works really well for it. Like, I don't know if it would have. I think it would have been a lot more character based had it had been the 90 minutes. Say three 90 minutes. If it had been one 90-minute thing, I don't think they would have had nearly enough time to do anything in it.
Oh, they would have had half the characters. It would have been basically probably Nick Cutter and like maybe Helen and probably like Connor, and because generally if it's something like that, you don't want many characters.
No,
there definitely would not have been James Lester.
And that would have been incredibly disappointing.
That would be, yeah.
No, I mean, I always like imagining what a Primeval movie would look like. I don't think it would be as good as the Primeval series one, but I think it would be interesting to imagine what it would have looked like and what they would have tried to have created. But ultimately, I think we can all be glad that we ended up in the situation that we did.
Yeah, definitely.
I think with the movie, they'd have to try and round off the ending a bit as well, because obviously all the series leave on cliffhangers, but you wouldn't really be able to do that in a movie.
It is interesting reading what Hodges says at the end of the article as well, saying how they were born for Netflix. And I think we've all had that thought where if Primeval had happened just a few years later and it had been picked up by a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, I feel like it would have succeeded and probably lasted a bit longer as well.
Well, sort of. I think it's possible, but I think we also don't know, because I think sort of. A lot of Netflix shows get cancelled within like 2 seasons. So, especially big budget shows, if they don't sort of get a huge audience, Netflix is just like, yeah, whatever, throw it out.
That's the thing about Netflix, is that they're always very eager to have a lot of their own content. So they will just greenlight stuff and it will just get put into production, and they will just make it so they have this huge catalogue of their own content. Whereas, so maybe you're right. Maybe it wouldn't have panned out as well.
Yeah, and the other thing is
that it existed in that time slot either. They wouldn't have had that like Saturday night thing to play up.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing to remember, is that ultimately when Primeval first came out, there wasn't much like it. Obviously there was Doctor Who, and Doctor Who had been running for 2 seasons, and it was the best show on television. And then you also had Robin Hood, which was utter shit. And then basically a year or so later, you then ended up with Merlin, which was all right. But ultimately, you didn't have the masses and masses of stuff. You log on to Netflix or Amazon or Disney Plus now, and there's piles and piles of shows that, half of them you're never even going to give a second glance to. And I think that's the other thing, is that ultimately Primeval hit a point where it was like, oh, wow, this is a new show. It's ITV's only show at this point, because at the same, ITV was basically just crappy talent shows and reality TV shows, and now there's this high quality drama that practically looks like it was made by the BBC, because yes, it basically was made by people from the BBC. And I think that is a more unique position than ultimately being another Netflix show. So I think it would have to probably try harder almost if it wanted to succeed in the Netflix era. But I would say if it released now in the Netflix era, having already released previously, I think it still probably would do better, because people know it exists, so there's a brand recognition there. Whereas when it first established, I think you need that brand recognition.
Yeah,
I think it's still there as the thing as well.
Yeah,
like they could they don't mention a reboot once, but I reckon if they brought the show back, they'd have that back catalogue of. All the people that watched it have all grown up now. Like probably most of us, watched it as kids and have now grown up. We've all got, some of them have families at this point, and that kind of, it's stuck with people definitely, because I not to brag, but the trailer that I edited and put on Facebook got shared like, I don't know, 5,000 times. It got 400,000 views, and all of the comments of people tagging their friends and going, "Oh my god, remember this?" and people saying, "Oh, I used to watch this with my grandmother," or stuff like that. That people have this attachment to it that I still think could be very powerful. But that's kind of off topic.
No, but it's true. It's true. I think people have that, but we'll probably go on to the why they should reboot Primeval about 300 times during this podcast. But
yep.
Every possible
#
reason.
bring back Primeval.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Did
tag
anyone else want to say
ITV
anything else?
and watch underneath everything I post about that, and they never respond. It was funny when BritBox did a post that Primeval had come back, and it was like one of the most popular posts on their page. They'd never mentioned it until they did that, and then suddenly it was maybe other than the post about Sarah Jane Adventures, is probably one of the most popular posts now.
Yeah. So does anyone have anything else to say about the origins of Primeval? Primeval Origins. Oh, that would make a really good movie, wouldn't it?
Oh.
It'd be about Helen Cutter in 1997 going off into a bloody time portal. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so starved for Primeval content. We're all so starved for Primeval content. We'd watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many possibilities for spin-offs in this universe, but all we get is dinosaur hunting.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the other thing that Primeval was probably a little bit limited by is its formula. It kind of had to have that monster factor every week. Like I don't think you could do an episode where there wasn't a monster, which I think was actually one of the better episodes in New World, was the one where they didn't have a creature in it.
Yeah. Well, actually, and it's good you've brought that up. No, you go first.
Yeah, I think that's where Series 1 hit the sweet spot, where they perfectly blended the monster of the week, like was half the episode, but then the overall serial story was like the other half of the episode.
It's a bit like Series 3, Episode 3 then.
Yeah,
kind of.
Cutter's last one. That one I feel is a little bit more disjointed because the two incidents are not directly related.
Yeah,
they're not even remotely related. Yeah.
If you look at like for example, Series 3, Episode 3, like the whole thing is linked with like, you know, where the anomaly is opening, and through the anomaly is who. And it's all kind of linked, and everyone's trying to work towards the same goal to look for Helen, as it turns out. And it's like the mystery of how the anomaly works throughout the episode. It's kind of all linked. With that episode, it's, the two things are unlinked. It's, there's an anomaly over here, and then, Helen's over here doing her thing. And then when they finish the anomaly, they come back to Helen. It was just supposed to be
a cute episode where a bunch of baby Diectodons show up in a hospital, and it's supposed to be a cute, oh look, we don't just do horrifying creatures episode. And then they were like,
gotta lure you into
you know what? This is the episode we want to kill Cutter in. This is the one we want to use to.
I think they kind of deliberately made the Diectodon part sort of funnier to kind of balance it out a bit.
Dramatic irony.
Yeah, but it is totally weird.
It is. It doesn't work.
But speaking of the Monster of the Week formula, I think that's actually worth bringing up because it's basically one of the main reasons, if we want to sort of go ahead in the article, it's one of the main reasons Douglas Henschel gives for basically calling it on Primeval, which I think is a really interesting insight, because I think he may have mentioned that before, but had he? I don't know. I haven't watched all the interviews.
I don't recall. I think this is one of the first times it's been said. So basically after being given the role, without a audition, obviously during series 2 and when he got the script for series 3, he decided that he didn't like the direction the show was going in, so
he said to them, can you just kill me, just end it now so I don't have to do this anymore.
End my misery, end my suffering.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame that we never got what was originally planned. I think they bring that up as well about the sort of original ending for
that's unfortunate, really,
for Cutter and Helen. That would have been a lot better. I think that would have tied up the Claudia Brown thing as well quite well. As in, they sort of address in the article
we'll jump back to that later. But basically, there was a 3-series arc planned for Cutter, and that was kind of disrupted in series 3 when
we only got 2 seasons of it.
Yeah. So they sort of had to bring in a new team leader, and obviously Lucy Brown left as well, who was Jenny. So
do you think she would have stayed on if Douglas stayed as well? I guess she had to.
I think she would have for at least one more series. Yeah,
she wouldn't have come back in the 4th series if she didn't She wasn't
a strong
interested.
fondness. Yeah. I think
also,
the other thing.
Douglas is quite a lucky actor, is in he doesn't seem to have a problem with choosing productions. He just sort of he seems to be in a position where he gets offered things quite easily. Whereas I think other jobbing actors, maybe like Lucy or Andrew, have to maybe work a little bit more for roles and jobs.
Yeah, well, I think that's something Tim Haynes and Adrian Hodges mentions, that they wish they could have had like longer contracts, because like in Britain they only got like one series contracts at a time, whereas over in America they have like multiple series contracts.
They signed at least 5.
I think they wish they could have locked him in for longer, which I believe they say in the article, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dilemma, because at the same time you don't want a guy who basically doesn't want to be there, you know, just being like sleepwalking through his lines, being like, oh, yeah, the Diictodon, I don't give a shit about this stuff. Can you just kill me off right now? You know, it's like that is you know, it's not the sort of situation. So I think they deliberately left it so it was like, you know, okay, right, you know, we appreciate this situation. They changed it because they didn't want to sort of make him hate being on the show, but it is, you know, a shame. I almost wonder if they kind of made a bit of a blunder with season 2, because I think, you know, I've often thought, and I sort of in the last time I reviewed a Primeval episode, which was episode 1 of season 2, years and years and years ago, I said that I felt that was actually the first moment where they started to sort of blunder the trying to make things a bit more, you know, given how structured the first season was, of like, you know, okay, we've discovered something new about the anomalies. Oh my gosh, they move. Oh my gosh, there's these spaghetti junctions, all of this cool stuff. And then the second season, it's just like, okay, and now we're being attacked by worms, and now we're being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, and now we're being attacked by mermaids.
It's a bit more, you know, it's a bit more high action. Yeah.
I think because they probably got the all clear that they had like the audience for it, and ITV went, okay, well, here's more money, and they just went, okay, there's velociraptors chasing you.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, what did the audience respond to? Well, actually, what the audience really responded to was the fact that there were a bunch of giant prehistoric reptiles going around and killing people, you know, so they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll put more of that into the next season, rather than... So it's almost like they were serving the audience, but what they actually should have been maybe doing is serving the actors as much as the audience. Because, you know, for an actor like Douglas Henshall, it's actually about, you know, he needs to be stimulated by what he's doing. He's not really interested if it's just going to be freak of the week. Oh, yeah. It's a giant scorpion this time, Doug. And he's like, all right, scorpions. Oh, I don't give a you know, whereas if it was like, you know, in this, yeah, that's true. At least they get a holiday out of this shit. Like, whereas the other side of things is, you know, if they'd said, look, okay, right, you know, in this episode, you discover that, you know, one of your family members is different. You know, your sister-in-law is a different person. Your cousins weren't born. You know, he might be like, oh, okay, so you're actually developing this side of the story. Whereas, you know, we get none of that. You know, he doesn't even talk that much about Claudia Brown in the series, other than just going around saying Claudia Brown. And he doesn't actually... Whereas Claudia, you know, we don't actually get into the stuff that I guess he really wanted to see, which was, you know, and they bring that up in the article, which is, I think, a bit more story development around that side of things. So I don't know. Reading this article has somewhat validated my feelings about season 2. Which I know is not popular because season 2 is a lot of people's favorite season for understandable reasons. But at the same time, I kind of understand his problems with it. So,
oh no, I totally agree with you. It's when you watch them, you can really tell like that the first series really hinges on the characters and sort of how they're going through things, rather than, because the second season is very focused on it's like a conspiracy all of a sudden, and all the drama comes from the Oliver Leake sort of thing, which is just a batshit insane idea to start with anyway, because it's like, yes, this guy is having his own personal zoo of creatures that he wants to turn into his own personal army one day, versus like
Which Colin Trevorrow was
deal...
like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll put it in my movies.
Oh, I wonder where he got that from. Versus like the character-driven drama of, you know, basically trying to find Helen and figure out how to deal with these things. The second season is much more like focused on more obscene ideas. Which is in retrospect is a little bit less interesting, I think. But
yeah, don't get me wrong. I think there's some good stuff in it. Like I think the whole conflict between him and Stephen about, should we be telling the public about these things? Should we not? I think that's interesting, but there's just not enough of it.
Yeah.
That was always one of the strongest like conflicts for me as well. Which I don't think they used properly with Helen, because Helen's just sort of like, oh, I'll just come flirt with you, and they're not telling you things, and Stephen's like, she's totally on board with my ideas, and I'm like, I'm not convinced by that. Just because she's being hot with you doesn't mean she agrees with you.
I think also the episodes
from the series. Yeah.
I think the episodes are quite unconnected as well in series 2, apart from those little minor plots.
Yeah.
They just kind
of find it hilarious that that season episode 3, the Saber-Toothed Tiger episode, where they're like, oh, an anomaly alert, and then the next episode it's a completely different anomaly that goes off, so we never even got to see what that anomaly. And you're thinking, surely even that level of connection is something you could have put in, but they just don't care.
They do sort of hint at the end of the series 2 with Helen saying about all the timeline changing and that she's going to experiment and trying to change the future. And so, that sort of got me excited for series 3. And
that all got dropped after they kind of had to rewrite the script a bit.
Yeah.
But I think that's what they tried to make her a sort of, I'm going to save the world. It was a generic. It was more of a generic plot. But it was like,
to be fair,
stop humanity destroying the world.
And then Marvel Studios stole it 10 years later.
I mean, but that's always been a thing. I'm going to wipe out humanity to spare the planet or something like that. It's not an original idea.
It's not new.
And out of character for Helen, frankly, because she was always so, especially when she's chatting to Nick in the very first scene they have, she's like, species die and something else takes over. It's just a cycle, and then to think that would be the end of the world and that's it, there's no more life after that, would be quite naive, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's kind of what they bottled with the future predators, because in season 1, they are just these weird bat creatures that evolve naturally. And then, like, in season 3, it's, oh no, humanity created future predators. Why? Just what? But I do still wonder, based on this this article, how much, like if they had these plans for season 3, why was season 2 the way it was? Like, you'd think if you were building up to this story, I don't feel that there was this trajectory into the things that it mentions, like a bunch of extra people turning out to be different, or the fact that it mentions that prehistoric creatures have evolved differently as a result of the changes that they made in the end of season 1, and that was one of the things that they would discover. And I just find it weird that really that was the closest that season 2 came to doing any of that. Like, I guess there was this whole thing about, the Silurians shouldn't have any dangerous animals, and then we discover dangerous animals. And that's like maybe I guess the Cambrian worms. Those are the only 2 times where I'm like, oh, okay, that's the series explicitly saying that these are prehistoric animals that have evolved differently. Because everything else, every other prehistoric animal we see, raptors, Smilodon, Columbian mammoth, they were those were actually quite accurate for the time that the show came out. So it's kind of weird that there just doesn't seem like what they talk about in the article about, this is what we wanted to do in season 4, but we had to change it because Douglas Henschel dropped out, is that it doesn't it's not entirely consistent with what we got in season 2 anyway. So I don't know where that sort of was supposed to change.
Well, if I can add to this quickly, I think that season 2 was still a kind of earning trust, a season where they needed to earn trust for the audience still. Like, 1 was definitely a success, but then 2, if you look, it's got 7 episodes so that they can make the first and second season into a 1 season for American audiences. That's why they did that. And you can market that more heavily to America. So I think it was still a kind of trying to lure people in, and by giving it the sort of pulpy monster of the week, here's big scorpions and dinosaurs and the things that you like, or the things that we think you like, because big things are exciting. I think that's what they were trying to do. On the topic of the timeline thing, I think it might have also been maybe a studio note. Like, it might have been too much. It might have been too much of an idea. I think now it makes more sense, because what that article was describing to me is kind of like the mechanics of the time travel in Loki, where there are different versions of people and things, and they sort of meet and collide. And
more people stealing from Primeval.
Exactly.
That's the other problem. If Primeval came out now, is not only would people call it a Doctor Who ripoff, they'd also call it a Loki ripoff.
But I don't know if that was a concept that maybe the studio or ITV, the company, was too worried might have been too complex, or they might have been asked to dumb it down.
Yeah, I have to agree that
so that it would to make it more appealable.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how exactly, like, how detailed they go into it. Would it just be like 1 or 2 episodes that mention it, or would it be like a whole series arc where Cutter's like, something's a bit off here, and then go, oh my god,
it would have been a whole series thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I guess series 2 is like a sort of filler series then, because it doesn't really tie much to the plot of what they do in series 3. It's not
incredibly detailed, but I think they've sprinkled enough stuff in series 2 that they could have set this up.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
Well, I think this is why the when they did the creature competition, the Dunkleosteus thing should have won. This thing should have won, because that would have fitted in so well with the idea of, like, oh, animals have evolved differently. Placoderms are now the land animals. That would have worked.
Yeah,
but never mind.
I guess that gets in a bit sci-fi, doesn't it? But I guess it could work.
Yeah. Well, what is Primeval if not sci-fi?
Yeah, I mean, it's showing off prehistoric creatures, but it can always go on to that as well. I think
it's a little bit more. Maybe the science might have been a bit too much. That's probably what they were worried about. They don't want to get too into the details, because after all, people are there to watch things beat each other, and
they didn't want to talk too much about evolution for the American audience.
Yeah, quite possibly. But yeah, I think it was just generally a bit more of a trying to make the show a fun ride rather than a think piece.
But unfortunately, that's not that. Well, that's why Douglas Henshall's just like, yeah, Jason Fleming, he's an action man, he can do that. I'm off. I'm gonna move to the Shetland Islands and solve murders
for a bit.
Yeah.
I wonder if Douglas were to stay for the whole series, if Danny were to become the sort of main team leader, and Douglas kind of have this separate plot, dealing with Claudia and Jenny and all that stuff.
Well, mentioning that the writer of Series 3, Episode 2, he did an article a few years ago where he mentioned that Danny was like originally called Emmett Quinn, and he was just like a random police officer, and he was only supposed to be in that one episode. So, yeah.
I love that they decided that when they were making him into a main character, they couldn't call him Emmett anymore, because Emmett was a lame name, whereas Danny, that's main character material.
It's a lot cooler.
Yeah, well, it's just why the guy in the Lego movie is Emmett, because it's like, what is the most sort of harmless name we can possibly imagine?
Emmett, and then there's Danny, the cooler Emmett.
Yeah.
Wow, but I guess we can probably blame Peter Fincham for most of this.
Yeah. Shout out to Peter Fincham, who rejected Primeval from the BBC. Then he came to ITV and then cancelled Primeval, and then he recommissioned it for Series 4 and 5, and then he cancelled it again. So.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
You're the one.
Did he have anything to do with New World being cancelled, I wonder?
Oh.
He just moved to Canada just so he could cancel Primeval New World.
What's
Started
this?
working
New
with
Primeval?
space
I
just
must
to edit
cancel it. Yeah.
I know, to be fair, that was me going back in time to Canada to cancel Primeval New World.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I mean, now we have no Primeval. You happy?
Yeah. Actually, I'll mention that because I this was another thing that I said before we started recording, which was I think if Primeval New World came out now, we'd all love it, including me, just because we're starved. Whereas Primeval New World came out way too soon after Primeval ended, because it was like there was 2 years or 1 year if you were watching on ITV. You know, at that point everyone was done with Primeval, so like releasing a spin-off a year later doesn't work. If they'd have released it now, everyone's like starving for Primeval. We'd have forgiven the shitty Pteranodon. We'd have forgiven the fact that most of the episodes were just clones of previous episodes. You know, we'd have forgiven everything. But there you go.
And I wouldn't forgive Fear of Flying, but
No,
I mean,
that's the exception.
I think it was a testament to how the ball was rolling, though. Like Primeval was still a household name, you know. The fact that had happened at all was a sign that it could be more.
I think they just made it that soon to the Series 5, so it kept the interest. Because otherwise, people would have
they started producing New World after Series 3, but obviously, that's when they got permission to start making it. So they'll kind of making it around the same time as Series 4 and 5 coming out. So that's why there's like no connection.
Oh yeah,
there.
let's make a spin-off to this show that's about to get cancelled.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
What else does this article say?
Hannah Spirit and Andrew Lee Potts would love to come back to Primeval when we get the inevitable reboot.
Yeah, yeah.
Inevitable, absolutely, yes. Totally
inevitable. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it'll be us. We did it.
Yeah. Why do you think I went to film school? Come on.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
You're just going to chain yourself to the Duke of Kent building at the University of Surrey.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'll never be able to get rid of it. You can't take Primeval from me.
And what do you need? Like, just a bit of CGI graphics? Easy, you know.
Yeah.
Stuff's really cheap. I mean, that's the thing, is that ultimately Primeval, Hannah Spirit mentions that it had a budget of £1 million every episode, which is a lot, especially then. But now, I don't think that would... I mean, the animatronics maybe, but like the CGI would be a lot cheaper now. I mean, the CGI in Primeval is good, but like, I think you could probably do similar stuff, but at a much lower budget now. So, you know, just putting that out there.
Well, yeah, that was one of the reasons why Primeval got cancelled after Series 3, because ITV had run out of money. So they were pretty much cancelling everything to save themselves.
Yeah, 2008 Wall Street. Well, no, it's not. Well, what do we call it? The 2008
GFC.
financial crash. So really, I think we can all blame the cancellation of Primeval on George Bush. I think.
That works for me.
Yeah, might as well.
That's the new conspiracy theory. George Bush cancelled Primeval.
Sorry, I'm just looking at inflation rates. $1 million per episode in 2007 is approximately it's 1,046,000 now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's not changed drastically. 1,046,000. Yeah, but the point is that you can do CGI for a lot less. Partly because CGI studios haven't unionized yet, which they really should do. But you know, yeah.
Not if we want our Primeval. Don't fight for your rights until we get our show back.
Oh God. This is the stuff you need to edit out. Yeah.
That outs me as actually a horrible capitalist.
I make no guarantees.
I'm screwed then. My reputation's ruined now.
Yeah, never making that Primeval because no one's going to come to work for you because it's like
that
what you said about unions. Yeah.
And this article leaves me kind of like, it's quite candid, like more so than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's got lots
I
of
think
details.
what's interesting is that previous interviews that they've had with like Tim, like the one that was on the wiki. I don't know who did that, but like there was a Tim Haynes had an interview with the Primeval wiki a few years ago, and like they were like, what would you want to do for season 6? Because everyone would ask him that, and he was like, oh well, if anyone wants to do a season 6, I'll tell you about that when I actually get funding for season 6. So he was very much still holding out hope at that point.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that he's necessarily stopped in this episode, but I think in this article. But I think what's interesting is that they're at least willing to talk about their plans that they did have for seasons that we didn't get, like for like season 3. So he still didn't say, oh yeah, in season 6 I planned for Abby and Connor to get married and for them to face a Diplodocus and blah blah blah. But they are now happy to be like, well, season 3 didn't turn out quite what we wanted it to do, but we did have all these plans. Which honestly, I think if they rebooted Primeval, they would have to bring those plans in, because I think honestly, and I know you guys might kill me for this, but I would say that there's no point in bringing back Primeval unless you want to sort of take it back to that original sort of concept. Because if you're just bringing it back because you want to see a bunch of dinosaurs fight some other people, there's a series of movies about that, and they're really popular, and they're making huge amounts of money. But honestly, so I think the sci-fi in Primeval is what makes it. So I think they need to bring that back.
Yeah,
No,
I
totally
certainly
agree,
have to agree with you. Yeah.
What's different here is from that wiki article. It's been a few years. The language that Haynes uses is completely different. Seems very much to be talking about it in the past tense and referencing it as a thing that happened and probably won't happen again. Also, like just to straight up name Peter Fincham, at this point proves he's probably not got any stake in what he says, or not a lot of stake in what he says now.
Well, I suppose the thing is that he's like, well, it's not going to come back on ITV anymore. It's like, if it's coming back via Netflix or Amazon or one of those, or just like, I don't know, Kickstarter. But, he knows it's not going to come back via ITV being like, yeah, you know what? We've cancelled the X Factor. We've got an extra budget now because we don't have to pay for Simon Cowell's hair gel. We will now produce season 6 of Primeval. I think we know that's not going to happen. So
I don't. What do ITV make other than police dramas now? Because it was like it's police dramas and Anton Deck's Saturday Night Takeaway. That's it.
They do one of the soap operas, right? I can't remember which
Coronation
one.
Street. That's
Coronation Street, yeah, the northern one.
That it? Is that what we've got?
Yeah. Have they lost all of the talent shows? Have they sold the?
Is The Voice still on? I don't know. The X Factor was the biggest.
The Voice was bought by Channel 4. Channel 4 buys everyone's stuff. Channel 4 clearly
Channel
rolling
4
in the
should
money.
reboot Primeval.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of kids, and it's a teen drama.
Oh well, okay. Here's some
The in-betweeners meets Primeval.
So Channel 4. So the reason that Russell T Davies ended up working for the BBC was because Channel 4 screwed him over. So if Channel 4 didn't screw over Russell T Davies with some of the shows he was trying to make, Primeval may have ended up being made by the BBC.
So we can thank Channel 4 for this.
We can, yeah. It's literally like the plot of Primeval, where one different thing in history could change the course completely.
It's like that Marvel show, isn't it?
It's like the Marvel Primeval. What
Marvel are just nicking Primeval's ideas. One of the adverts for that,
I mean,
or the intro for it, has all these different realities in like shards of glass, and it breaks. And I'm like,
yeah,
I've seen this somewhere before. I've seen that before.
Oh, right.
You know what? I think if Primeval was made now, they probably wouldn't make it time travel. They'd be like, oh no, it's a separate dimension. Because they like dimensions more than time travel these days. Because basically movie critics have ruined time travel. So now they're like, no, we'll do it in separate dimensions. It's a pain.
I think you get away with it. I think they've merged the two moreover now. Especially referencing that the Loki and the What If series. It's all about like timeline branches. So you can sort of say, oh look, here's where that one leads off, and it's a different thing entirely. And then here's again, Doctor Who did an episode similar to this, didn't they? Where they had an alternate reality where things weren't quite exactly the same. which it seems to be a
Oh,
popular
it's
thing.
a common
Again,
it's a common thing. Yeah.
yeah, but like I like the idea that Primeval has one timeline though, and if you go back and mess around at either end, it sort of ends up changing it somehow down the line.
Yeah. Well, it has basically, I mean, it has a bunch of different end points, 3 different futures, all that sort of stuff.
Well, let's just hope they bloody bring it back then.
Yeah.
I rush to write the damn thing.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That was it. If they bring back Primeval, they will use the whole timeline thing as an excuse to say timelines will be the frog DNA of the Primeval franchise, because it'll be like, why do the raptors look inaccurate? Oh, timelines. Why is the pterodactyl completely different from season 1? Oh, timelines.
Someone dropped a penny in the Cretaceous, and that led to
pteranodons evolving teeth or grippy hands or whatever the fuck they gave that stupid animal.
You've really got a vendetta against this thing, haven't you?
Oh, I hate that thing more than any other design. Yeah. Because I think the pteranodon in Primeval season 1 is probably one of the best depictions of pteranodon in anything, because it was scientifically focused. And this brings us back to the article that we all joined to discuss, because one of the really interesting things that Douglas Henschel says is that what he really liked about the show was it was educational, which I think is really interesting, because I don't think any of us would think of Primeval as being a particularly educational show. But I think it was really interesting that was one of the things he picked out. And I would say that, season 1, there were elements of education.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, in the same Pteranodon episode, we also have a pack of piranha like an Orognathus in the Cretaceous. But at the same time, I'm willing to say, it was somewhat educational, that first series, maybe to some extent the second series, but less so, and then just not.
I think it may have been educational in the way of it sort of introduced lesser known prehistoric creatures. Like,
that's true.
There's no other, I'm going to say dinosaur focused franchise or anything like that has ever had a Gorgonops or anything from the Silurian or Devonian or even like post-dinosaur mammal.
It's just T-Rex.
Dinotopia had Dunkleosteus, so Devonian, yes, they have had Devonian.
Okay, but like the vast majority.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Mainstream.
It's outside of it. Yeah, it's outside of the mainstream. Most of the animals are new.
That was what was special about it, other than like the actual casting and the writing and that was the fact that it used obscure animals. And I think, again, not to say it would be good to bring it back, but now Jurassic World has a Lystrosaurus in it. It's going to be a more common thing. And I feel like because now they're running out of dinosaurs to use in things, they're going to start looking elsewhere for
I don't know how you can run out of dinosaurs, but
I
suppose you
run
out of dinosaurs if you're unimaginative with them.
Well, they've made a completely different pack of velociraptors that somehow look really similar, so I don't know what to tell you.
They're not velociraptors, they're atrociraptors. You see, they're different because atrociraptor is basically an animal known from a single jawbone, premaxilla, from Canada, and for some reason they decided that was going to be the new big bad in Jurassic World. Honestly, I could go on for hours about how Jurassic World Dominion has just picked random dinosaurs. They look exactly the same, it's ridiculous. They're just slapping new names on it. Conversely, like Primeval would just sort of have 2 different designs to say it's the same animal. So there you go.
But then they also use the same raptor 20 times.
Yeah. Oh, it's a swimming raptor. It's a Balboa now. So there you go. But
and this one just doesn't have feathers because we couldn't afford them.
We couldn't afford
quills.
It's just so depressing that they just gave up. Like, another reason why maybe it wasn't the worst thing in the world that they cancelled at season 5, because those raptors were depressing.
To do a quillless raptor than a kind of furless Smilodon.
Yeah, but they didn't have any furry or feathery animals in season 5. They clearly blew all the fur budget on the Hyenodon, and they were like, sugar, what do we do now?
Real shame watching 4 and 5 is because it just, I think they must have had less money than the first series, because it just doesn't. The production value just does not reflect that.
I believe they had £13 million to make it, so approximately 1 million per episode again.
Same budget,
but as we said earlier,
after the financial crash.
Yeah, we think they used all the budget at the start of Series 4, and they run out budget
Yeah.
at Series
With
5.
a bit of inflation, that's still less than what they were getting to start with. Then.
Yeah.
The other thing to say about the creatures that people haven't seen before, it's also worth mentioning that Primeval was probably one of the first shows to actually have mosasaurs in a antagonistic role, because I think we forget that the timeline of marine reptiles is that in the 1800s everyone was all about ichthyosaurs because they were big and dangerous, and then plesiosaurs sort of took over from them as the cool ones once the Loch Ness Monster became this cult icon. And then obviously we get the pliosaur craze of the 90s with Kronosaurus and Liopleurodon, but Mosasaurus didn't really, Mosasaurus is obviously now the big one because it's in Jurassic World, it's in Aquaman, but Primeval was actually kind of, well, obviously Sea Monsters was the first, but Primeval was then the second to be like, yeah, Mosasaurs, they're really scary.
Yeah, Primeval's got a lot of that in it, where they somehow, I don't know, again, like, I don't know if ideas are stolen or whatever, but they somehow managed to have ideas for so many different sci-fi concepts that have now come out post Primeval. Like, I don't know, A Quiet Place. There was a Agnerophnathus kind of creature in a Netflix thing that was out recently.
The one that was not The Quiet Place.
Yeah, which also was A Quiet Place, but not A Quiet Place. There was the mosasaur eating the guy off the thing, jumping out of the water. That's Jurassic World. There's so many. The fungus creature was before The Last of Us. Like, that's a cordyceps fungus zombie creature before The Last of Us ever came out. All these different sci-fi concepts. I keep going, these people must have watched Primeval. They must know something about it, surely, because it's done so many of them at this point that I can't believe it's coincidence.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to just the writing and the creativity of the ideas as well. Like, it's a concept that still has so much to explore. And we talk about creature evolution or time travel and alternate people and just future animals and all this crazy stuff. There's so much you could do with that. There's so many ideas. I feel like it's just ripe. It's ripe for the picking.
Yeah, plenty of spin-off ideas other than dinosaur hunting.
Well, you saw Angus's thing with all the different shows. That's such a good idea for spin-offs and that. And then you could do an Avengers thing where you bring it together. I just feel like the climate for TV is maybe not Avengers.
No, I'm sorry, maybe not. Like, oh wow,
they're not all going to show up out of anomalies and go,
he's back from the Pliocene. Oh yeah, Helen Cutter. Yeah, that was one of my.
But videos, in a meaningful way to converge the stories in some way. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much you could do with it, and that by not doing it, you're kind of wasting the potential of it. Is there anything else we'd like to touch on in the article?
I think we've covered most of it now.
Bringing back Primeval.
Okay. Yeah, bring back Primeval.
I gotta say, I found it funny. Okay, I've got to bring this up because the bit where Nick Cutter, where Douglas Henschel's talking about all of the of course Jason Fleming came in and then Karen McMillan or whatever, and he says, I didn't watch it. So Douglas Henschel has not watched Primeval past season 3, episode 3. And he explicitly says, I don't want to go and troll myself. Which is just delightful. That's how he's interpreted the phrase "troll yourself."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. Because you do get that. You do get actors who watch everything that they're in, and you've got other actors who never watch anything that they're in because they don't feel it's the sort of thing to do.
Then you get Douglas. Then you get Douglas, who just doesn't watch anything he's not in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's watched the previous episodes as well, but that does imply that he might have done watching those previous ones. Because you would, wouldn't you? Because you want to see what you were reacting to.
Yeah, well, especially with like the idea that they had no idea what they were getting into. You know, and then we're like, well, what's this thing going to look like when we see it finally? And then I think once you get into it and you sort of realize everything becomes, when you get used to something, it becomes sort of, you become complacent with it. So I think is also, you know, part of the reason why he may have left the show was complacency. Like it was a little bit repetitive and you get bored of things.
Yeah.
So, and it's a lot of work. Like a commitment to a series is, you know, it's a long time and it takes ages to shoot things as well. So I think past the point of seeing yourself getting chased by dinosaurs, you probably get a little bit like, oh, right, so where is it now? Oh, it's over there, is it? Okay, I'll see.
Where in Surrey are we filming today?
Yeah, right. We're on the M25 and there's a mammoth. Okay, sure. You know, you get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is, you know, he is very much an unlikely action star. So I can, you know, you're not necessarily going to have if you sign up for a sci-fi show and then by the end of season 2, you're like, I'm just running around now. I do not have the energy for this anymore. Yeah.
I just wanted you grumpy and Scottish.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't blame him.
That's why I did Shetland.
Who doesn't want to just be grumpy and Scottish somewhere?
Yeah.
I think the other interesting thing, just in general about the article, is firstly that they managed to get as many people as they did for the interview. But I'm also wondering, are we going to get more like this as they reveal other series of Primeval?
Well, that's the question.
Because that was only
going to release the others on BritBox. Yeah, as well.
If they release the others on BritBox, are they even allowed to release season 4 and 5 on BritBox because they're UK whatever thingy bob? Whereas, if you know season 3 at the very least, but then you know they're not going to interview Douglas Henshall for season 3 that much, unlikely. You know,
I mean, who knows? I don't know. This article came from Alex Morland, the writer. He went to the Radio Times and asked them if he could write a piece about Primeval. So I don't know if Radio Times is particularly invested in getting more Primeval written. No. But if Alex certainly seems to have connections, and if they do, I'm sure there'd also just be more to talk about. You know, more reason to talk about it, and they might be interested again. So who knows?
Yeah, because there was there would have been an alternate series 4, like before it was cancelled in series 3. They would have actually followed like Danny looking for his brother and stuff, but that got dropped as well. Yeah,
because of bloody X-Men. That was another one.
All
of that, and then he didn't even get to be in the next movie.
He's got like 3 lines in that film.
He has 3 lines. He goes around, he teleports a bit, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to being in the later movies. You know, I get to, you know, because in the comics, Azazel ends up with Mystique, so it's like, oh, you know, I get to work alongside Jennifer Lawrence, even though I'm 20 years older than her.
Get a cool romance with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, and then it's just like in the next X-Men film, Michael Fassbender's just like, oh yeah, he's dead. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, he was so unrecognizable in that part anyway. They could have picked anyone for that role.
They could have done anyone, yeah. So there we go. That's another. But that's why I want that as an interview as well. Yeah.
They were asking that exact question. Were you angry that they got rid of you and you didn't have your hot romance with Jennifer Lawrence?
You could have been in Primeval more. Come on.
Yeah.
You could have been in
All
Primeval.
That for nothing. Yeah, you lost. You lost on both fronts.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence is temporary, but Primeval is eternal.
Forever.
Oh man,
that's my motto.
Yeah. Oh, I should probably mention I have actually met Tim Haynes. It was TetsuCon 2019. He did a talk there about sort of dinosaurs in media and all of that sort of stuff, which was really interesting. He didn't go much into Primeval, but at the end, you know, quite a few people came up to him and were like, you know,
Where's Primeval?
No. People came up and were like, you know, we're really, you know, thank you for making Primeval. Thank you for making Walking with Dinosaurs.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim Haynes. He's quite aware that.
Yeah. You've helped us a lot.
Who's obviously listening to this right now. He's obviously listening. So you know,
obviously got
thanks,
this far.
Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, for making our childhood with Walking with Dinosaurs, or Walking with, and thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Well,
I'll
he didn't
mention the
make
other
Prehistoric
one.
Park, so there we go. But
Yeah.
I thought he did, didn't he?
he wasn't involved in Prehistoric Park. No,
That was
That
was
James.
all Jasper
That's
James.
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Which is the other really interesting part about Primeval and Prehistoric Park that I really want to know about, is because obviously they worked on Walking with Dinosaurs and the other ones together, and then suddenly we get this ITV thing where Jasper James with Impossible Pictures makes Prehistoric Park, and then Tim Haynes makes Primeval, and I wonder if there was a level of rivalry there, or if that was a sort of mutual, we'll just split and do our own little projects. But
Jasper was on Primeval. He directed some of the pickups. Yeah, so.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But Tim, drop us a line. Let us know.
Yeah, please do.
You should definitely listening right now. And if you are, brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us. Been a lovely
nice
chat.
to be here again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
good to have me on as well. Very, very pleased. It's a really interesting chat.
Yeah, it's been great chatting, and
a lot to talk about with Primeval.
Yeah, so thank you, Alex Moore, for writing the article on the Radio Times. That's been very insightful into our favourite show, Primeval.
It's fair to say it's the most we've had in years, I think, at this point. So thanks for doing that, man.
Yeah, we're clutching at straws.
We made a 1 hour long podcast out of this one article that takes about 5 minutes to read. But that's what it's like to be part of a niche internet community.
For a cancelled show, baby.
Yeah. But I think the takeaway message is that everyone who's doing art, keep doing art. Everyone who's writing fan fictions, keep writing fan fictions. Because Tim's reading them all, and
keep seeing your crazy memes on the Facebook group.
No.
The whole cast is over on the Facebook group. Do you want to promote the Facebook group at the end of this podcast?
Sure. I mean, I can plug it now for the hell of it. If anyone on Facebook wants to join Primeval Anomaly Posting, it's a meme community, but it's also a fan community, and it's probably one of the largest Primeval communities on the internet at the moment. So come along, share your stuff, have a chat. We'll have a good Primeval chat.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. Largest Primeval community isn't exactly a competitive field at the moment, but it is probably one of the largest.
I'm gonna wear that badge anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're entitled to wear that badge.
Cool. Do we want to plug ourselves quickly, properly? Once again?
Oh, yeah.
What, for my non-existent content? Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at Permian Sailback. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is obviously the Edaphosaurus YouTube channel. All you need to really do is search Prehistoric Park, and I think I'm one of the first things that comes up now. So I'm going to shut up and let someone else talk now.
Yeah.
Go on, Alec. Plug your stuff.
Oh, if I must. Okay. So I've got my Instagram and my Redbubble and my Twitter, which are both all Time for Change Art, time and then number 4 Change Art. And I do lots of paleo drawings and wildlife photography on there, that kind of thing. Not a very big community, really, but it's just, I'm trying.
We'll get you there. Don't worry. You can follow me at Alfred Barwick on Twitter, and if you want to follow my Primeval account, it's at Primeval Legacy. I have a YouTube channel for my personal name as well as Primeval Legacy. Come check out some of the videos. We have a good time, trying to keep the spirit alive. Come check us out.
Yep, make sure you check everyone out.
Where can they follow you?
Yeah, everyone can follow me on Twitter at Ministry of Arc.
Everyone follows you.
Or message the Great Primeval Show at gmail.com. Right, thank you for listening.
Brilliant, thanks for having us. See you later. Yeah, let's get out, okay, quick. This is going to get old very quickly.
Okay. One final thing to mention from the article, which is, I think, a very nice note to end on, is Tim Haynes, where he says, "It feels a bit sad now for me because it was such a lovely show to work on, but it's been and gone." So, there we go. But the Primeval fans, the groups of them, it's a lovely thing about the internet, the way these people and enthusiasts can find each other. Whether they write stories off the back of the series, or whether they create new images for it, writing and talking about the characters, it's immensely flattering to see such enthusiasm. So, there you go.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's nice that they've acknowledged that. That's really nice.
I'm gonna cry. It's
Yeah.
Primeval lives on in us, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because no one else
Yeah.
remembers it.
The real Primeval was inside all of us all along.